Hello and welcome to cookingflavors.com. For today's video, we look at some of the most useful tips and tricks for grinding idli batter to get super soft idlis and for the perfect fermentation of the idli batter. All the tips and tricks that I'll be giving you today is applicable for any kind of idlis, that is the idlis that require fermentation, not for instant idlis, but for idlis that require fermentation. The first and foremost tip is you need to wash your ingredients, whatever ingredient like your rice, your dal, your ragi, your millet, whatever ingredient you're taking, make sure you wash them at least twice or thrice, because the first few times when you wash, you'll see the water will be a little turbid because of all the polish and dust from these ingredients. So the fourth time you should be able to see the water. The water should be nice and clear and you should be able to see the ingredient below the water. It should be that clear. And so when you're washing it twice or thrice, there'll be a lot of wastage of water. Don't waste that water. Use that water for watering your plants or for washing your vegetables and other such things. So that is tip number one. Make sure to soak your ingredients in the same water that you will be using for grinding, that is either cooking water or drinking water, and make sure you use cold water, that is plain water, and not hot or warm water. That is tip number two. The next tip is make sure you grind each ingredient separately. That will give you the best results for fermentation and for super soft idlis, because each ingredient have a different grinding consistency. Some require smooth grinding and some require a coarse grinding. So make sure you grind each ingredient separately. The next tip is before you start grinding, make sure you wash your grinder and your stone in nice cold water, because if you're living in cold countries, you will get hot water in your taps, but don't use that. Use cold water, because as your grinder keeps running, it will get heated up. So beforehand, make sure you wash it in nice cold water. Moving on to the next tip, if you have the option of both a mixer, that is a blender, and a wet grinder, always make use of wet grinders, stone grinders, because they are the best choice. They also give a lot of volume. You will know the difference when you grind urad dal in a mixie and a grinder. Grinders always give a lot of volume and give soft idlis. Idli batter should always be thick and it should not be runny. Only dosa batter should be runny and in a pouring consistency. Idli batter, you should always be able to tap it from the ladle and you should not pour it from the ladle. That is the perfect consistency of an idli batter. In the beginning itself, if you add a lot of water and grind it, after fermentation, it will become even more liquidy. So make sure to keep your idli batter nice and thick. The next tip is a most important tip for perfect fermentation. Always use only your hands to mix the batter and do not use a ladle. And when you're mixing, make sure to incorporate air, that is fluff it up in an aerated pattern. Spread your fingers a little apart and fluff it up nicely. So the friendly bacteria in our hand is the one which is going to help us ferment the batter. So wash your hands thoroughly well and mix the batter with your hands. After mixing the batter, especially if you're living in cold countries, make sure you put your batter in the oven with the oven light on, and do not switch on the oven, just switch on the oven light on. In case you don't have an oven, you can also wrap it up with a nice thick blanket or a thick some kind of a cloth and keep it nice and warm. That is just in case if you're living in cold countries and it's not warm enough to ferment your batter. The next one, after the batter ferments and when you're ready to pour the idli batter into your molds, make sure you just mix the top layer and don't mix it thoroughly in and out. Only if you take the top layer, your idlis will be nice and soft, otherwise your idlis will become very hard. After your idli plates are ready to go into the steamer, make sure before you put them into the steamer, your water comes to a nice rolling boil. Only then you should put your idli plates into the steamer vessel. Once your idlis are done, make sure you always give it some cooling time. Only then you have to take it out of the idli plates. Otherwise, if you're going to take it out when it's nice and hot, it will definitely stick to the idli plate and it will be a little crumpled. Your idlis will not be nice and smooth and soft. So give it some resting and cooling time, and then take your spoon and take out the idlis. Apart from this, you can also add in a spoon of fenugreek seeds while soaking your urad dal. Usually fenugreek seeds are added to give color to your dosa, but it sometimes also aids in fermentation. The next one is, while mixing your batter, you can also add in the required amount of salt and mix well. But if with your hands, if the batter ferments really nice and good, then after fermentation you can add the salt. But for those of you who say that your batter doesn't ferment well, you can add the salt while mixing the batter itself. That's a good tip for fermentation. The next one is while grinding your rice, make sure to add in a handful of soaked poha along with the rice. Instead of poha, you can also add in leftover cooked rice, but poha is the best option to give nice soft idlis. The last tip is if your grinder gets heated up because of continuous running, make sure to switch off your grinder at intervals, allow it to cool down for some time, just about 4 to 5 minutes, and then switch it on again. I hope all these small tips and tricks will be useful, especially if you have a problem with fermentation of your batter and if you have a problem with getting soft idlis, and especially if you're living in cold countries. All these tips and tricks are personally tried and tested by me. So you can always go ahead and make use of these tips and tricks. If you like this video, please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share our videos with your friends and post in your comments and suggestions. I thank all my subscribers for continuously motivating me and encouraging me in my endeavor. Likewise, please also do give your support to our Tamil channel, Samayal Suvai. Till we see you again with another new and interesting video, thank you and happy cooking.